Hello everyone, welcome to Remind Me to Read. This is going to be a video about my top 5 reads of 2018. In 2018, I only read 19 books, which is still pretty good. I was actually aiming to read 24 books. That didn't happen, it's okay. But I did manage to read some very good books. Here are all 19 of those. Here are the books I loved in 2018. You'll see that this is more than 5 because I have some ties. So I'm going to have 7 books. One is an audiobook. We'll get to that later. Alright, starting off with number 5. It's a tie between P.S. I Still Love You and What If It's Us by Becky Albertalli and Adam Silvera. P.S. I Still Love You is by Jenny Han. It's the second book in the series for To All the Boys I Loved Before. A lot of people know about this book. It came out years ago. I read it years and years ago. This is my favorite because this year I read it and I cried at the end. This book, my only negative critique about this book is that for some reason I felt like it was long. It's not a thick book, but I felt like a lot of events were happening and it kind of did drag a bit, but I really love this story, this series in general. It's just P.S. I Still Love You is a favorite for me this year because it's the only book that managed to make me cry this year. It has been made into a popular movie for Netflix about a girl who, when she likes a guy, she knows that she's not going to go after him. So she writes these letters to just tell them how she feels about them. Well, she never sends the letters to these guys. She just keeps them in a hat box. But one day the letters get out to all these guys and she has to deal with the consequences of them knowing how she really felt when she wrote those letters. It ties with What If It's Us. I love this book because it has some similarities to P.S. I Still Love You, and how I love the modern story. You just have these people and they're living their everyday lives and just a smidge of something happens that takes them for a loop. And that's why I like What If It's Us. It was just so cute. I should also mention that What If It's Us is 2 male teens who are gay and the story is about them finding each other and having a relationship. I love to read a book with LGBT characters. I'm heterosexual, so it's not my story to read or to tell, but I do like it when a book with these characters is made popular and people are reading them, because we need these voices from people who are different and they can tell their stories so that it's more normalized for people to be gay and transgendered, and we will get less violence and people who are ignorant. You'll always see me promoting a book that is LGBT wherever I can, but usually it's hard for me to find those books because I don't actually actively seek those books, since my preference is to read straight characters. If I find a book that I really like, I plan to tell people about it. Now for number 4, this is also a tie. You wouldn't know because I haven't been talking about it on my channel yet, but I read the Harry Potter series. I didn't finish reading the series. I read the first 3 books, and those are the books that I'm going to talk about. Only 2 of them: Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. This is the first book and this is the 3rd book. I read the 2nd book, of course, but I didn't enjoy it as much as these 2 because I felt the 2nd book has the same formula as the 1st book, and that was like one of my major critiques. I gave Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, I gave that book 4 stars out of 5, but I gave these books 5 stars each. I loved Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. I gave it 5 stars. because even though I never read the books, I saw the movie and I love the movie so much. I love the characters. So when I was reading this book, I felt so much nostalgia. Being introduced to Harry, Hermione, Ron, Professor Snape, Dumbledore, Neville Longbottom. It was just so nostalgic for me, and I felt while reading it that I have read it before, you know, from the movie. I love reading it and remembering the movie. I love the world that J.K. Rowling built here in this little book. And these characters she made, they feel so real to me, probably because of the movie. But I'm definitely a fan of Harry Potter. The reason I had to tie it with Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban is because this book is the longest book in the series that I've read so far. It's a bit lengthy. When you think the story's about to stop, it continues to go. But I think that's what I like about it. Even though you're like, okay, JK, you can end the book now, she takes you for a turn and it's even better than the last turn. I see a lot of people say this is their favorite book in the series. So if you didn't like this, I don't think we should be like deterred from reading the rest of the series. I also hear people say this book is more of like a filler, like it was unnecessary. There were things that could have been all said in another book. Like she could have merged this book with Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. I don't know, but I truly did like this book. Even though if it didn't add to the rest of what the story was to come in the story, I still really appreciate it. So number 4, these 2 books. So far, I've loved 4 books out of my 19 that I read this year. Now for number 3, this is just 1 book. Number 3, I loved Mockingjay. I really love Mockingjay. I read this during Booktube-a-thon. I listened to the audiobook while also trying to read the book. I started the series like 2 years ago and finally got to Mockingjay and actually finally watched the Mockingjay movies. And I just really love this book. Mostly because I appreciate the ending. I felt the ending was so realistic. To me, it was a good conclusion to the whole series. Of course, you might not think it ended the way you wanted it to end, but I just felt for Katniss's story, it made sense. And overall, the story, the way it flows, I feel like the story, it keeps you and it absorbs you. And it was a page turner. I finished it in a day or 2. I mean, it really grabbed at my heartstrings, you know, and I cried just a little bit. If the book makes me cry, I'm definitely gonna say I loved it. 5 stars. Number 3 is, no surprise, A Torch Against the Night. I've been talking about this book for the last 2 videos that I've made. All I have to say is if you have not read this book, you're really missing out. But if this book isn't like the Bible of fantasy, I don't know, I'm being dramatic, but if you really love fantasy and you haven't picked up this book, I mean, I don't know. I also reread And I'm Burning Ashes, which is the first book in the series. At first, when I first read the series, I think I told you guys, I gave it 4 stars. But when rereading it, look at all those tabs. I gave it 5 stars. Because I realized, wow, LaTonya, you're ridiculous. This book is amazing. I really, 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 really love it. I love Laya. I love Elias. I love Helene. I even love the Commandant. I love the covers as well. I love having an idea of what Laya looks like. I feel like it's a good representation. I'm already planning to reread these books again. But I haven't finished the 3rd book. I don't have it up here right now. Now, if I love A Torch Against the Night so much, what could possibly be number 1? Well, I'm going to give you your answer right now. It has so many tabs as well. The Poet-X, yes. Such a good book. I just recommended this to my sister and she read it in a day and she loved it. She didn't really give me a specific review on like everything that she loved about it, but I can pretty much tell definitely that she liked the drama. I loved how it was in prose, poetry style. That's a story. Actually, let me read my Goodreads review. So this is about The Poet-X by Elizabeth Acevedo. This book is special. I liked reading it. It was fun, deep, and short. A story with tension, imagery, and poetic techniques I loved seeing throughout. The book was realistic as it navigated this young adult's confusion with religion and her body. feeling lost, left out, unloved, hurt. I feel it was beautifully creative. And I had like one critique. I said, I wish that the narrator was speaking an actual poem within the story that we got to read. Because in the book, she'd be like, oh, I'm at a poetry slam. She would mostly just describe how she felt during the poem instead of actually reading what the poem was. So that was like my only critique. I do consider this my favorite book of 2018. I gave it 4 stars, I think, because the book is written in verse. I love that it's written in verse, but at the same time, I feel that when you write poetry, there's so much more. Like, I feel like this could have been a book that was written normally, and I would have loved it even more. But for what was given to us, I feel it was perfect. Yet, I give it 4 stars. I don't know how to explain. Maybe if I read more books this last year, it wouldn't be my favorite. I don't know. Out of the books that I'm showing you guys right now, this is my favorite, definitely. I love taking the time to tab all these pages. I look forward to going back and seeing what I highlighted. So here are the books. I did read other books that I enjoyed last year, but yeah, of course, these are the top 5 or top 6 or 7. I read quite a bit of fiction. Fantasy. Yeah. Middle grade, I believe. Contemporary, I believe. Poetry, more contemporary. I had a good reading year as far as, mixing up my genres, reading books by authors of color. I might as well tell you the worst books of 2018 for me. First one that comes to mind is Hidden Bodies by Caroline Kepnes. That is a series, a duology. I love the first book, You. But Hidden Bodies, I felt like it didn't meet my expectations as much as I thought it was going to. It's about a guy who is a stalker. And the first book has a way of making you sympathize with the guy who's a stalker because he's the narrator. And I found it a little funny. But the second book, I don't know, I feel like his crazy really came out. And I couldn't vibe with it anymore. So I think that's why I just didn't like the book as much as I liked the first one. Another book I didn't like because of the ending that I read last year in 2018 was An American Marriage by Tayari Jones. This book had a lot of hype. I liked it very much, but the ending, it's very easy for a book to be good, go all throughout, but then the ending just ruins it. And that's what happened for me. It is a book about a man who is married, a black couple. In the 90s, systemic racism sent the husband to prison. What type of drama happens when you're a couple and your husband goes to prison? A lot. I didn't even know that was a storyline. I just read it because Oprah said she liked it and Obama said he liked it, and it was a very hyped book. And I feel like you definitely should read it, but don't get too invested, I feel. Because I got invested and I got hurt. Next book I read that I did not like is Stay With Me by Ayobami Adebayo. The plot, amazing. Based in Africa. I actually have a blog post on my review for this book, so I will leave that link down below so you guys can read it. But I feel I didn't like it because of the ending as well. See, we have a theme here. I do not like when a book's ending just throws me off. Like, I love a plot twist, but the plot twist has to be amazing, great, makes me happy. If the plot twist makes me upset, I'm just gonna throw the book. Stay With Me is a book about a couple, again, who are struggling to get pregnant. African tradition puts a lot of pressure on the woman to have babies so that the man can have an heir or, just kids to carry on the legacy of family. The wife, she wasn't getting pregnant, so they brought in a second wife to help have a baby. Yeah, a whole lot of drama that I thought was going to have a good culmination. I feel like the culmination of events just didn't live up to my expectations of what was occurring periodically throughout the book. The ending just fell flat because it stopped at a very random place. And just because, I'm going to also add one more book, and that will be Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. A good book, but as I said earlier, I felt it follow too much of a formula of the first book. I hope this isn't a spoiler. Harry Potter is with his terrible family. They don't like that he's a wizard, but they send him off to Hogwarts. He's having fun with his friends. Something bad happens. They have to figure out why these bad things are happening. Somehow it's tied to Harry. Harry figures out what it is, and then Harry beats whatever the thing is, and then points to Gryffindor. And then Harry goes back to his mean family members. Yeah, it was following too much of the same formula from the first book, so I felt like it dragged, in my opinion, so I only give it 4 out of 5 stars, which maybe a 3 would have been just as good. But yeah, it did help move the plot along because Voldemort is in it. Not spoilers, but it still was a good book. I'm enjoying the Harry Potter series, and I hope to finish it this year. Not sure when, but soon. Now that's it for today's video. Thank you guys for watching. I will have more videos.